All right, Mandisa, you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Right. I service the studio.
Today is April 18th, 2021. It is season 5, episode 16. I'm Eric Murphy, and with me today is Mandisa Thomas. Mandisa, how's it going?
Hello. I am doing very well. It is nice to be back on the show. I
It is
miss
awesome
you,
having you back.
Eric.
Oh, I missed you
Yeah.
too. And I've heard all kinds of cool stuff about what you've been up to. You want to tell the audience what you've recently accomplished and are going to be doing?
Yeah, so so in
I'm putting you on the
addition
spot just a little
to
bit.
us having a great 10th anniversary celebration, which we truly thank the ACA support for, I just recently became a humanist celebrant, endorsed humanist celebrant, and which
Yay!
means that I can officially do weddings, funerals, and other services for our greater secular community and also for moderately religious folks and others who may be interested in having a less dogmatic celebration or acknowledgement or event of any kind. So I'm really, really happy to have that under my belt so that I can further contribute to the growth of
That's
our community.
wonderful. I just realized for people who maybe are new to Talk Heathen or haven't seen our other shows, Mandisa, do you want to tell people who you are?
Sure. So I am the founder and president of Black Nonbelievers, which is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is dedicated to building support and community for an increasing presence of Blacks who are atheist, agnostic, and who are questioning their religious beliefs. And I also serve on the boards for American Atheists and the American Humanist Association. And I work with other organizations now worldwide. So I'm very, very happy to be here once again with you all, just representing the organization and our community. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. You can find us on our website at blacknonbelievers.org. You type in Black Nonbelievers, you can find us anywhere. That's so almost everywhere on social media.
That's wonderful. I absolutely love what you do. When I first met you, it was intimidating meeting the founder of an organization like yours and getting to know you and getting to find out that you're just one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met has just been an honor and a pleasure. So I'm so happy to have you here. Black Nonbelievers is a busy and an active organization. I know that comes from a lot of work that you do. In fact, like you said, you just finished that event, but you have 2 more events coming up. Can we give those a shout so people can set their calendars and attend if they can?
Absolutely. So in September, from the 24th to the 26th, we will be hosting the second Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference, along with Black Skeptics Los Angeles and the Women's Leadership Project. You can now stream that event. It will be available to stream online. You can find that information on our website. And we will be cruising again this year. Of course, we had to postpone it due to COVID-19 last year, but we will be sailing again in November from the 7th to the 13th. We will be sailing out of Miami, Florida. Our ports of call will be Ocho Rios, Jamaica, Grand Cayman Island, and Cozumel, Mexico. We're going to have some wonderful speakers, some great activities, and just having a fun and educational time. So if you're interested and would like to join us for any of those events, please visit our website and make sure you vaccinate. We encourage a very safe and healthy environment. We follow the science. So please do get your COVID shot.
Absolutely. I'm actually getting my second shot next week, and you're getting your second shot coming up soon too, right?
I am on the
Oh,
28th of April, so I will be done. My family and I will be completing the second shots this very, very soon.
That's wonderful. I'm so excited and just, I don't know, making plans again and actually going, we're going to go and do something together and there, we're almost through this and it's just so exciting. And I'm really, really pumped to hear about these events and that we're getting ready to move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we dive into calls, I have the regular announcements today. So at 3 p.m. Central is going to be a new episode of the Nonprofits. Definitely check it out. Love the Nonprofits. Also, Talk Heathen is a product of the atheist community of Austin. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And it also has shows, the ACA also has shows like the Atheist Experience, the Nonprofits, Secular Sexuality, and more. And I'm Truth Wanted. I'm so sorry, Truth Wanted, and others. What we do is promote compassionate atheism and the separation of religion and government. And we do that through educational content like this, where people call in, we can see these conversations had. It also promotes a wonderful humanist values by going out there and helping organizations, Mandisa, like yours. And I absolutely love it. So if you like what we do and you want to support us, consider becoming a patron. You can go to patreon.com/talkheathen and if you do, and you become one of our top 5 patrons, I will thank you live on air 2/3 of the way through the episode. So I've got it live on the screen. I refresh it right before I thank you. So if you want to hear your name read today, go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me, become one of our top 5 patrons. With that said, Mandisa, you ready to dive into calls?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. I really want to talk to Hermer in New York because this just looks like a really interesting topic. Hermer, can you hear us?
Yeah, sure, I can hear you.
Hey. So
Hello.
what is it that you wanted to talk about today?
I want to talk about why atheism is useless. But
Okay.
first, I have to correct some statements that I said previously in your show.
I love that you want to make corrections. Go for it.
Before I said I respect atheists, I don't respect atheism. Also, Lot's wife, the story of Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt was true, not because of sweat tasting like salt, but tears tasting like salt.
You.
Also, there's no such thing as an atheist sorcerer. And also, I made up the story saying I was a sorcerer, but I was never a sorcerer, but I had tons of curses placed on me, tons of witchcraft curses, and I'm still alive.
Hermer?
So, hello?
Those are a lot of weird things. And we can only do one thing at a time, and I don't even know if those are the topics. So let's just get through those. I'm glad that you respect people. You don't necessarily need to respect ideas. So saying you respect atheists but not atheism, fine. As long as you're regarding your interlocutor.
True, I like the person, but I don't like their beliefs.
That's same here. If you're, I think we're on the same page. Yeah,
and I already proved on your show God exists by saying the glory of God and Vila Bianca eyes opened up. I already proved that. You could check the video.
Hermer. Hello? Hi, this is a conversation. Yeah. If you're going to talk at us, we're going to hang up on you. And
right.
Move on.
Sure.
Okay. Number 2, sorcerers. Did I say
there's no such thing as atheist sorcerers? And I was never a sorcerer.
Mandisa, did you think that they're atheist sorcerers?
No, I said that
before. No, Hermer, would you like to? Yeah, okay, Hermer, this is what I'm asking you. How did you come to the conclusion? Like, what made you come to the conclusion that there are no atheist sorcerers? Did someone try to say there were, or what? Yeah, give us some background on that, please.
Yeah, someone tried to say that, and then I just said it.
Okay, so you're correcting. Atheist sorcerers. Got it. You were correcting a statement that you made, and you no longer think. Okay, cool. So since I wish V could say this themselves, but because they're not on here, I feel comfortable saying that if you want to talk to V about what V believes, call in on a weekend when V's here, because I cannot speak for them.
I hang up.
Hello? And he hung up.
And he hung up. Okay. That just confused me for a moment because I don't think anyone, I mean, there's no sorcerers, period. There's no Christian sorcerers, there's no atheist sorcerers. So not that actually exist. So
N- no, not unless you're
I'm
talking
a
about
little
like Dungeons and
confused by
Dragons.
that. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
So Hermer, if you want to call back, man, the idea that atheism is useless is the one that you had called in and I saw in the comments. And I wanted to kind of explore that idea, atheism being useless. So if you want to call back, we'll take you again.
Yes.
Also, other religious callers. We don't have very many today. So if you want to call in, if you ever wanted to chat with us, today is your day. Call 512-991-9242, or you can call via link by going to tiny.cc/callth. You call in, you talk to one of our call screeners, we set you up in the queue, and you get ready to go. If you call later on in the show, it can be difficult to get you on. So please, now's the time to call in. 512-991-9242 or tiny.cc/callth. All right. Let's talk to Jess in Louisiana. Jess.
Oh, hi.
Hey. What would you like to talk about today?
Okay, so I would like to talk about how to talk to specifically my mother, who is a Catholic theologian, about my atheism and non-belief, because our conversations always go the same way, and I'm trying to figure out how to get out of that.
Sure. How does it go?
Okay, so we start talking about something. I keep up a little bit, then she starts blasting me with all of the, I don't think she's doing it intentionally, but that's kind of her personality. She blasts me with all of the things and research and reasons or whatever that she thinks God exists and it's Christianity and all that stuff. And I slowly stop responding, and she kind of starts asserting what I believe, and I kind of try to stop her from doing that, but then she's like, well, this is the definition of this, and it's sometimes it's stuff I know the definition of, and sometimes it's stuff I've never heard of, and it's hard to respond to that. And then eventually we get on the topic of abortion.
Mandisa, what do you think?
That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And I can say that with any parental relationship, especially where, the child has come out of religion or never was religious, but the parent still is. Jess, are there other factors that you may think or that make it difficult to have a conversation with your mom?
Yeah, one of them, I'm transgender, and recently that kind of put up not a barrier, but it's made things a little bit more awkward than they used to be.
Just another.
Because I am out, and she knows that I'm on the agnostic spectrum of, but I haven't straight up told her I am an atheist, and then I came out to her as trans, and somehow she thinks that me being trans or LGBTQ has some connection to me being atheist, and my reasons for being atheist is actually separate from that of the fact that I am trans.
Absolutely. Although I'm sure that you're coming to terms with you being trans is probably more reinforced by your atheism, because usually and this is where it's interesting that Hermer says that atheism is useless, because when we talk about letting go of those dogmatic beliefs and what we thought would be the case or what would happen to others if they didn't follow follow the doctrine, usually when you let that stuff go and you see things for what they are, whether it's evidence and experiences, usually you let that stuff go, and so it reaffirms your position on the LGBTQ community as well as your other identities, even if they aren't necessarily, even if they don't necessarily correlate, or one isn't necessarily a result of the other, but one, they do help with each other. So it's interesting that the still religious, the believers, especially when they're parents, especially when it becomes much more difficult to let go of those beliefs, and especially when it comes to your children, for those who are still holding on to them. There is so much to unpack there, and I am always an advocate for not frustrating yourself any more than absolutely necessary, especially when it comes to parents, because their idea of care and love don't necessarily, they don't necessarily coincide with that, or it doesn't necessarily come across as such. And it's usually more than one thing, even beyond the trans issue. If there are underlying trauma factors, whether it is on, whether that you're experiencing or whether that your mom has experienced, whether she has chosen to express them or not, or to be honest about them. There's a lot going on there, and I certainly don't want to take up too much time on this, but and I certainly hope I'm not rambling here.
No,
But
Mandisa.
it's always, no matter how much you try to make people understand, when they're in their emotional state, because it isn't happening to them, even though they think they are, somehow parents who are believers think that they have failed their children when they either they come out as atheists, or yes, or that, if you're trans or if you're atheist, she feels like she failed as a parent, and that isn't true. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that reassurance. However, if she is going to browbeat her position, especially if it isn't based on evidence, then you may want to reconsider how much emotional labor you are willing to put into that. Especially if your mom is really making it hard for you, because I don't like for anyone in our position to feel like they owe any explanations.
Agreed.
To believers.
Agreed. Just to tie on to that, I even if there was evidence, that emotional labor is, like Mandisa said, yours to decide whether or not you want to put in. The fact is, even if it's your mom, you, as a human being with autonomy, have the right to say, hey, I'm willing to engage with this, or I'm not willing to engage with this. She cannot force you to have a conversation that you don't want to have. And you have the right to assert that boundary. It sounds like in your explanation, you're not the one bringing up the conversation. In fact, it sounds like it's something that she's doing to you. Is that about right, Jess?
Kind of, yeah. Sometimes it's just like we're sitting at the kitchen table and we just start talking about things, and then sometimes we're talking about something completely mundane, and then it turns into something else. Like just today on the stairs when she was saying we're going to lunch, it turned into a conversation about human pattern recognition and what that means for beauty or whatever. It gets absolutely insane.
Especially when you're excited, when you're diving into this whole, philosophical, theological rabbit hole, and you're learning about those specific topics, you want to share them. I totally get that. You still have the right to assert a couple of boundaries, like saying, hey, I'm willing to talk about beauty. I'm willing to talk about these outside, arguments, but I'm not ready to have a conversation with you about more personal things until I'm ready for that, or until we can get to a point where we're both ready for that. I want to keep that off the table. And if I see that it gets in that direction, remind them. Say, hey, we moved back into that place that I'm not okay with talking about. And if she says, I don't care, or she says, that that's tough, or whatever the case is, you have the right to walk away. That doesn't mean walk away from the relationship necessarily. Go ahead, Mandisa.
Right. No, I was about to say that it can be very difficult to do for a parent. It's not just, so cut and dry. It isn't so easy to do, and it takes courage because we're still we still adhere to these ideas that, the parents are right. They want what's best for us. And it's hard, especially when, you're very close to them.
Yeah.
So we don't want to underscore how challenging and how difficult it can be. But it is something that for many of us and our emotional and mental health, it is absolutely necessary to consider.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So please take your time with it. Are you dependent upon your mother? Are you in a position where you need to
Yeah,
kind of lie low?
I live at home right now. I graduated college and I'm back home now.
Congrats.
And I live with my parents.
And congrats on coming out, by the way, as well. Fuck yeah.
Absolutely.
Like
Yes.
4 or 5 come out sessions with my family for like each one of the things.
Yeah. So, establishing boundaries does not necessarily mean ending relationships. I know Mandisa, you already said it, but I just kind of want to reiterate it because man, that feels so just visceral. And for me, I'm thinking about a conversation that I had with my family about vaccination. So I have a whole side of my
Lord.
family that wasn't really taking it seriously. And they're like, how come we don't see you? Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
how come
Because
you're
I
not
don't want to
seeing
catch
me?
your germs. No, but I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just right.
because you're irresponsible. I actually said that because you're irresponsible. And why would that? And I got angry and I got loud and I was direct. And I'm not like that with other people. I'm not like that, usually. But I was like that with family. And I was sitting there just racking my brain, talking to my friends. And my friend Drew said, Eric, it's because you care. It's because you're family. You care so much about them getting vaccinated because you want them to be safe because you actually have skin in the game. And so
Right.
yeah, contextualizing that, yes, she may be, very, very vehement about a thing does not mean that she has the right, but it just might, I just want to reiterate what Mandisa said, that hopefully that context can help make it feel less like a personal attack and more like a, just the way, you're close in relationship, as family, that can come up. But again, as far as advice moving forward, I've got to say, Jess, you should set some boundaries that you feel safe with, that you feel comfortable with, because you have the right to engage with those conversations when you're ready and not beforehand. And if she cannot respect those, then she doesn't get to have any of those conversations with you. I mean, there are some people who I just won't have those conversations with. They'll want to talk and I'll say nope. And if they keep going, I'll say bye. I had an uncle who wanted to go on a Trump whole spiel in an argument. Like he was ready. Like you could tell that he'd been sitting in his car thinking, oh, when Eric comes over for Christmas,
I'm gonna get you.
and this was pre-COVID. This was 2 years ago. And he I get there and he's like, oh, so Trump economy. And I just looked at him and I said, hey, Uncle Chris, I came here to have Christmas with my family. You're my family too. And I want to enjoy this holiday with you. I'm not going to have this conversation with you because I'm here to enjoy this with my family. I didn't take any bait. He tried to say things that he knew would upset me. And I just said, I'm not doing this. And then he tried one more time. And I got to say, hey, I told you I don't want to do this. I just want to celebrate my family. Please let me do that. Please let me enjoy my time with my family. Dropped, never picked back up. And if I want to talk to him about politics, it's going to be when I'm ready, not beforehand.
Okay.
And that I never made an enemy of him, right? You don't have to, drawing a line does not mean that you're being mean or cruel. It doesn't mean that you're being inconsiderate. It just means that you are saying, hey, here is where I am, and this is where I'm comfortable, and this is where I need these lines to be.
Yeah, okay. Because, I do think my mom does want to have a genuine exchange of ideas. I just think that her personality, she gets so carried away with it. And maybe if I help press the brakes a little, then she'll be able to slow down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not only that, she needs to understand how that affects you as her child. She does not have the right to impose what she thinks in her quest to be right. And she needs to understand that, just like you care about her feelings and what she thinks, she needs to do the same, which in parent-child dynamics can be very, very challenging because most parents aren't used to thinking about what their children think. They aren't used to being considerate of that. And it isn't necessarily intentional, but it's the fact that it happens. And as much as you possibly can get that across, what might be best until you can, it might just be best to say, like Eric said, I don't want to, I can't, not you don't want to, but you can't have this conversation because she's making it very difficult.
Or maybe just individual things. Maybe it's hey, when you tell me what my thoughts are, that's crossing a line, and when that line gets crossed, I'm done. I check out. I guarantee you, if she starts saying this is what you believe, and you go, oh, you crossed that line, we're done for now. Just watch how many more times it happens. Oh.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing that kind of gets under my skin is when people start saying, well, from my point of view, or this is what I think. And when that's the only perspective they're coming from, that's a problem, because that means that, for one, they are not considering the other party or parties. They're also not considering the information and the evidence. They're not taking that in. So when it is extremely one-sided, and it is that way consistently, it becomes very, very difficult to have a conversation with those type of people.
Yeah. Jess, hopefully this helps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think establishing some more clear boundaries around that within this sphere of, now your child is an adult, you have to think about them differently, transitional period that we're in. I think that'll really, really help. I super appreciate y'all's advice, and thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. Send in love. Take care.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish the best.
This hits very close to home for me, Eric,
Yeah.
because it not only do I feel for them, but it's the fact that so many of us go through this. And this is another area of a community that we help each other through. Because once we get through letting go of God, and also beyond the the societal challenges that we deal with, interpersonal relationships and family dynamics are often a huge part of what we go through and the challenges that we face. And when it comes to deconstructing, parental and family dynamics, especially those that may be dysfunctional and toxic, and what we become used to, and as we try to, as we try to overcome that, and as we try to do differently, that becomes an area that gets tough at times for many of us, because we're not just feeding into that, oh, well, honor thy mother and father, the parents are always right, you only get one mother, so you just have to respect them. It becomes a matter of mutual respect.
It does.
And respect as human beings, and these are just the things that we contend with quite a bit.
Agreed. And I absolutely echo that feeling. Yeah. It just being there for each other in this way, just saying, hey, I hear you, and letting somebody talk and go, you're not alone. This isn't Gosh, it's helpful. I know we've got other callers, but I kind of want to share with you now too. When I was a call screener for the Atheist Experience before Talk Heathen, we would do something called, I would call it popping the cork. Somebody would call in, and it was the first time they talked to another atheist, and so I would just listen, because if you have your whole life, you're just pent up and you're never getting to talk about any of these things, and you don't have context, you don't have the ability to check in and go, hey, you know what, is this normal, is this okay? When it finally happens 30, 40 years later, you're calling in, you just talk. And there were so many times when I was call screening for AXP that I would say, don't pick up this line, just I'm talking to them. And after they just kind of decompressed a bit, I'd say, hey, do you still want to talk to the host? They go, no, not really.
Right. Sometimes that's all we
Turns
need
out,
are our ears. Yes.
yeah.
Sometimes all people need are others to just listen, and not always to offer advice and I know we're a solutions-based community, right? Sometimes people don't always need solutions. They may know what to do. They just know they need support. They just know they
Yeah.
need people that will hear and listen. So, and sometimes when all you do is, well, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're showing empathy or care. And I think that's something that we need to be more mindful of as a community. When we talk
Agreed.
about
I
care
think
and
that,
compassion and
yeah.
understanding, yes, I'm sorry, Eric,
No,
but
no, no,
those
no,
are
no.
things that are absolutely important for us.
You got it. And we do our best to model it, but this isn't the format to be able to do that. But I think this is a great place to plug Recovering from Religion, the Hotline Project.
Absolutely.
If you do want that, decompression, if you do just want to reach out and hear and talk to somebody else, and not necessarily get advice, but just have somebody listen, it is an incredible resource. It's wonderful. Check out the Hotline Project. If you don't want to call in, they also have a text line. And if you want to volunteer, if you're wondering, what can I do to promote this community? Maybe you can't leave the house, or maybe you don't want to be out like that, but you still want to volunteer. Recoveringfromreligion.org. They need volunteers. Tell them Talk Heathen sent you. And we really, really hope that, that can be something positive for you. I know that was my intro into activism, was volunteering for the Hotline Project. All right, let's move on to the next call. I want to talk to, I love talking to Kathy. Kathy in Pennsylvania. How are you doing, Kathy?
How are you, Eric?
Hey,
I'm
good.
fine.
Say
How
hi
are
to
you?
Mandisa.
Hello.
I'm pleased to meet you. Hi. I feel very pleased and honored to meet you. Via
Thank you
telephone,
so
I guess.
much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Mandisa, Kathy is a religious caller. Kathy, do you still consider yourself Christian, or just generally religious?
Well, I'm a religious caller, but if you told me I was going to die in a half hour and asked me did I believe in Jesus, I would say yes. So I guess I am. Like Pascal's wager, sort of.
That's a familiar spot to be in.
Similar. I don't know. It's on the cusp of kind of being like that, I guess.
Yeah, I love that Kathy's in this place, because I definitely, I definitely feel that, and I've been in that place, at one point. And the fact that Kathy still considers themselves a believer, but are asking critical questions about things, I think is a really unique and awesome kind of insight. So Kathy, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I had a pleasant conversation with the call screener, and then I guess we'll continue on with, I was going to talk about, are you allowed to talk politics at all, or no?
So, politics is not my strong suit. Philosophy and theology are. Mandisa, I don't know about you.
Sort of related to
I speak on politics very limitedly, on a limited basis.
Well, we won't.
My area is. Oh.
It's
Go ahead,
kind
Kat.
of related.
Okay,
to
go ahead.
It's kind of philosophical and ideological. I can't say the word.
Ideological.
So,
no worries.
It's about since the revolting attack on the Capitol, about the continued presence of a former president in the Republican Party, and how they are supposed to be quote on air quotes Christians, and their behavior is anything but Christ-like. What do you make of, why is this continuing in this country? I'm interested in your opinion. That's what I told the call screener, and that's the truth. That's I would like to know why people who call themselves Christians, it's not the no true Scotsman fallacy argument, why do they continue to follow? And I'm talking about people like certain senators and congressmen and women continue to carry guns and accost people who were in school shootings and tell them that this didn't, I'm sorry.
No worries. Oh, we just, I want to make sure we don't go too broad so that we can make sure that we at least have time to answer something.
That's basically, how does that comport with, loving your fellow man and treating all people with equality,
dignity? Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on that, but Mandisa, I don't want to railroad. So do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm going to, being that, I was formerly raised non-religious, and the fact that I think religion has been harmful and paradoxical, it goes to, the very, very dubious nature of Christianity and the Bible. There are people who take, they take certain excerpts and scriptures from the Bible, like, love thy neighbor and love your fellow human beings or people. And then there are others that are a bit more dogmatic, and there's a lot about power and conquering, and about who should, and who should worship who, and so there's a lot in the Bible. And when we talk about Christian nationalism, I'm not sure if you've heard the term, Kathy, and it has come up quite a bit. And I would recommend Andrew Seidel's book, who is an attorney for the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Wrote a really good book on that. But also, if you look at the history of certain organizations, for example, the Ku Klux Klan ran on they are a Christian organization. And this is very, very important to understand, because they may truly believe that they are doing their God's work. I mean, people who are carrying guns and firearms and think that they are, they truly believe, because there is something in that Bible that can justify that, which of course calls into question how good of a book and a doctrine it really is. So these are just fundamental questions that one can ask themselves when it comes to why there are some Christians who really are more humanitarian in nature, and others who feel like they need to dominate, they need to go in and preserve their God and country. It's like they're going to war for, for whatever it is they believe in. But there is something in that, there's something in that book that there are passages in that book that can absolutely justify their perspective. And I'll yield to Eric at this point.
Sure. So I pulled up a website, and it's funny, where I pull my definition of Christian nationalism from is from a Christian website, because I figure I'm not going to strawman a group if I take it from other So here's what Christians Against Christian Nationalism says. It says Christian nationalism seeks to merge Christian and American identities, distorting both the Christian faith and America's constitutional democracy. Christian nationalism demands Christianity be privileged by the state. It implies that to be a good American, one must be Christian. It often overlaps with and provides cover for white supremacy and racial subjugation. We reject this damaging political ideology and invite our Christian brothers and sisters to join us in opposing this threat to our faith and to our nation. So where we go with that is, this privileged position, right? This I'm sure people have heard, and it may sound innocuous, this whole, we are a Christian nation kind of thing.
That's not true, but yeah.
But it's something that gets asserted, and unless we stand up and say that's not true, then eventually people get used to it and go, oh yeah, absolutely.
That came from the McCarthy era, right? That
Yep.
we are a Christian nation when they were trying to root out communists, correct?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's when when we also made "In God We Trust," our motto and all of that. So really, it dials back to that. And if you want to find something similar to that, take a look at countries who will use the Quran and say, we need to follow the principles of the Quran when it comes to our law. And I feel like we run the risk of going down that path when we have a group that is that vehement about making sure that their identity is the one that is being taught. Then it's a problem. And if you want to know why it's gotten bigger, why it's gotten more out of control, two things. Number one, framing.
That's what
framing is incredibly important. So the idea of giving people an even shake is not persecution. And so when they say we're taking religion out of schools, fuck you. It shouldn't have been in schools. I don't care if you're religious. Even if I was religious, and to many, many Christians and to many people of different faith backgrounds, the idea of a state mandating that children teach a specific religion to their kids is insane. But it's that push, and
it's unconstitutional.
But according to that,
did not say.
Right. But according to that group,
Eric, I apologize.
No worries. But according to that group, they feel that it is either going to happen, it needs to be taught in schools, or they're being persecuted. Number two.
That's right.
Number two, and I'll touch lightly on the Trump thing, and that is that I don't know and don't care whether or not Trump has, it is Christian or how Christian or whatever. That's in his head. I have no idea. What I will tell you is that he gave those Christian nationalists everything they wanted. He fought and pushed down trans legislation, LGBT legislation. He pushed to. I can go down the line. He put in Supreme Court justices who were anti-abortion and set us back when it comes to how we and what access we have to abortions here in the United States. He pushed for these conscience laws where people have the right to discriminate based on their conscience. No, it's religious discrimination, and it's not them being discriminated against. It's them discriminating against other people. The idea that you have to treat other people as less than human, and unless you don't, you're being persecuted, is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. But it is what is causing that. And so,
what's a conscience law, though? I've never heard of that.
Oh yeah, you have, absolutely. The baking a cake for a gay wedding.
Oh yeah. Oh, if you feel it's against your belief system that gay people are allowed to marry, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's not discrimination. Or renting a home to two women who are gay or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also an abuse of religious freedom. There is this idea that you can discriminate against others due to your freedom of your beliefs, which is absolutely wrong.
And actually, something else.
Here's the thing here, though. Say I was a bartender, I would have a problem serving an obviously pregnant woman alcohol. Would that be the same? Is that different? I mean, I don't think that's the same type of conscience law that would have anything to do with religion, would it?
I think
it sounds stupid, I know, but
no worries. I honestly think that that is something that I need to kind of look at. And I mean, like I said, I'm not great on politics, but my initial decision is, while I would hate doing that, I also, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. But at the same time, let's stick to what's going on right now. That way we don't get too far off into the woods.
It's just something I threw in there. I mean, I wasn't going to start in on it. It's just something that if you're
worries.
For your conscience.
I'd like to answer that, Eric, if I could. That is a matter of, if that isn't just a matter of morality or ethics. That is absolutely a matter of health and safety. And if there is someone who is endangering the life of their unborn child, you absolutely can refuse to serve them alcohol. There is a clear and present danger there. And so there are situations where you can see that there is no clear and present danger in baking a cake for an LGBTQ couple, or to rent a residence to an LGBTQ couple. There is no clear and present danger there. When there is someone endangering either themselves and the well-being and safety of others, then you absolutely have the right to intervene, and that's whether you're religious or not.
That makes absolute sense. Thank you. That's exactly right.
So, Kathy, I know we have other calls that we need to get to, but I did want to bring up two more things that I would feel remiss not to bring up. One of them is building on what Mandisa said, this abuse of religious freedom, because when the excuse of religious freedom is used to remove the rights of people, it becomes religious tyranny. And that's what is being endorsed, and it should be called that. It is religious tyranny. The other thing is, and this is something that at least I've seen, it's this idea of inheriting being God's people. And I think that you're going to see a lot of crossover with that. And if you really want to investigate that, that's something that I think may help. What emboldens a lot of Christian nationalists is this kind of narrative that the United States is blessed by God. This idea that they have inherited God's favor from the Jewish people, and that in leaving and establishing, there's this entire pseudo narrative of coming to the United States and it being analogous to leaving Egypt in the Old Testament, and establishing that whole thing is used a lot to justify those actions. And so while I'm putting on that Christian hat, if you want to know more, I know it may be uncomfortable.
Yes,
but I would suggest talking to somebody who believes those things, because we run the risk of straw manning, because there can be a Christian nationalist who's did that way for some reason that could still be terrible, but just not one we mentioned.
Is there any, I would like to know before I know you have other people to get to, any info, anything I can go to? Now the call screener mentioned the nonprofits. Is there a particular podcast that I can get more information? Because I'm interested in those more learned than I am, about this stuff, listening to it.
I just remembered the name of Andrew Seidel's book. It's called The Founding Myth. If you might be interested in either purchasing that or downloading. I think there's an audio version of that as well, or you can get an ebook. I know he also has a YouTube channel where he talks about Christian nationalism and white supremacy, because that's another aspect that people often don't think about, and they go hand in hand. So I'm not sure which other podcast though, Eric, if you have any information on that.
It's called
I just had something come up. Kathy, I look forward to talking to you in the future. I need to move forward. Something just popped up.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right. You guys have a wonderful day.
Bye, Kathy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So I just received word that there's been a mass shooting near where I live.
Oh, no.
So for people who are wondering or afraid, in the Arboretum area of Austin, there's been a mass shooting. The suspect is apparently still at large. If you're hearing my voice, my friends, we're doing this show. Please message me right now and let me know that you're safe. I can tell you that I'm safe. I can tell you that V is safe. And I want to tell you that other people are, and I will do my best. But our sincere condolences to the families of the people who were shot. This is apparently underway right now, and I am shaking. So we're going to do our best. But if you are someone who is a friend, please message me and let me know you're okay. Okay, so
Absolutely. Eric, yes, if I may offer my support and condolences as well. I'm here in Georgia, but I certainly want to send my love to my Austin family. And just make sure that everyone is okay. My goodness. I mean, it is just so heartbreaking to hear how many of these instances keep occurring, in
yeah,
addition to the other instances of police brutality and other people losing their lives. This is just absolutely ridiculous. So it's awful. And please stay safe if you are in that area and in Austin. Please, just I'm sending out my love and support to you all right now.
our crew is as well. And I do want to let you know that those crew members who are working with us today are all safe. And they're sending their love and support and condolences. So just want to be absolutely clear. Can we move to the crew cam really quick before we dive over to the next caller? Our crew is safe. We care about you. We love you. Thank you. And I'm glad you're okay. We should move on to the next caller. It's not something that I have control over. It's not something that you have control over. But we do have control over what we can do moving forward. And I think this is a cause worth doing. So we're going to keep doing this. That said, let's talk to Mark in Canada. Mark, you're live with Eric and Mandisa. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Well,
shaken.
yeah, considering.
Well,
Yeah.
after being shaken from that news, that's pretty bad. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, me too. Let's talk about what you want to talk about, though. It says that you want to talk about spirit guides.
Yes, I'm a spiritualist minister. I belong to the Toronto Spiritualist Temple.
Okay.
And I'm a minister. I'm a spiritualist minister. And I get information coming to me from my spirit guides when I'm giving messages at the church. And I do believe that there is life after death. And I believe that these spirits that are on the other side give me information and I'm able to pass it on to other people.
So first question, Mark, just so we make sure that we're not strawmanning you here. Do you think that a spirit guide is something that is outside of your own head?
Yes, I do. Yes, it's not in my own head. It's just I'm communicating with spirits. It's actually other people. I've had people that have passed. I've gone to readings with people who also have this gift. And they've brought through my grandmother without me even saying anything, and they've given names and everything else. It's very, very, it's eerie almost, but it does happen.
Mark,
it does happen. If you go to somebody that really is really tuned into the spirits, yeah.
So Mark, these may all seem connected to you, but there's so many things that are going on. We want to make sure that we zero in. Mandisa, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So, Mark, do you think that your spirit guides are unique only to you, or do you think that they're also guiding other people? How does that work? Or, yeah, please explain that.
No, I do believe that everybody has a spirit guide. And I do believe that they were with them from the time that they are born until the time that they die. I wouldn't say everybody's got a spirit guide. I'd say maybe 98% of people have spirit guides. There are those that are dark entities that don't have them yet, but everything will come back to the fact that they will eventually get a spirit guide. If they do make a request for a spirit guide and they don't have one, they can get one. But I would say the two of you have spirit guides, and they guide you and they direct you and they give you information and they help you out with different things.
Got it.
That often explains.
Okay, so Mark, I'm going to.
Hey, Mark.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Marcus, I need to ask you a very serious question. if 98% of people have spirit guides, that includes a large number of people who commit mass shootings. And we're just talking about a situation here that is very, very serious, in which people are being hurt and killed. Do you honestly think that someone has a spirit guide, or someone who is committing a mass shooting would have a spirit guide telling them to actually commit harm and murder to other human beings?
No, your spirit guide is very, very benign.
Okay,
He
so
doesn't
so let's
interfere in your life. He
got
doesn't
Mark.
control your life.
Mark.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
clarify, because I think Mandisa has a really good point, but I kind of want to help walk you to why where Mandisa's at on that, and that is,
Right.
can you tell the difference between somebody who says they have a spirit guide and somebody who is mentally ill?
Well, a person who is talking to themselves, or a person who's getting very evil messages, is not getting that from the spirit guide. And see that you can.
So,
like I said, there's some people.
So hold on. Mark, I hear the answer. I want to engage with you, but we can't give explanations to everything because it's just the format of the show. So what you're saying is, if it's bad, it can't be a spirit guide, and if it's good, it's a spirit guide.
Your spirit guide is from the realm where God exists, so he would not do anything which would be evil or dark or bad or whatever else.
Okay, so let's be super clear, because I've never heard the no true spirit guides argument, but
Yeah,
even if
that's what we're hearing right now. I mean,
right, but even if we grant that, even if all they can be is these happy little chubby balls of love, what the problem is we may possibly be enabling people to not seek treatment and help when they need to. Because while this may be benign, I think Mandisa has a very, very clear point. And that is that and Mark, can you imagine somebody saying, well, they have a spirit guide, they tell them what to do, right? This voice in their head, or this delusion, this kind of, image or a character that only they can see or hear, and that character tells them to do bad things. The problem is when we justify those things, or we say, oh no, it's okay to leave that space, we open the door to bad things, even if you're not necessarily a bad person, even if the people in your group are not necessarily bad people. The reason why we're hard on it is because I think I'm confident in saying Mandisa believes this, and I believe this too. That door, unless it needs to be open, should be shut.
absolutely. And in addition to that, it also leads to this justification of this idea that this loving God would even, or these spirits would even allow for the other human beings to be harmed in any way if they're supposed to be so good. What about preventive measures? If we're just going on your premise that there are spirit guides, and if they're just guiding one or maybe more than one person, I mean, it becomes it becomes quite convoluted, and it becomes this idea that, is it just one spirit guide for one person, or multiple spirit guides? So there are a number of questions that lend itself to so much scrutiny, so much justification, like Eric said, of bad things happening. And that is unacceptable. To me, it is unacceptable. To Eric, it is unacceptable. To those of us who are humanists and actually care about others.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the way that the spirit guide communicates is through thought. So usually that's why you meditate. The purpose of meditation is to get into that space where you can distinguish between your own thoughts and those of your spirit guide. What happened in Texas today has nothing to do with spirit guides. It has to do with a thought where a person is thinking something apart from the spirit guide. You may have a spirit guide telling that person, don't do this, it's not right. And they still ignore that voice that's in their head and they say, no, I'm going to do it. So it's not the spirit guide that's responsible for it. It's the person's own thoughts. It's the person's own will. Everybody has free will. So
yeah.
evil
there we go. There we go.
Mark. So that's very happy clappy. It sounds like it can't possibly be bad. Unless it is, in which case you have every reason, obviously, you just showed us, to deny it or to distance yourself from it. I'm glad. Terrible things should not be tolerated. That said, let's be quick on here and go through this. Mark, if your spirit guide exists separate from you, can we test that?
Yes, you can, and I've had it tested many times. I've been tested many times.
Let's see if I can test it. Is there any way your spirit guide can interact with me?
Well, I'd have to call back another time. I'd have to prepare myself because I can't just automatically connect to my spirit guide just willy-nilly. I usually do it within a church setting. So
got it. So here's what you do.
Like to do it outside of the church setting. So
no worries. This is a huge platform, and what I want you to do is I want you to light some incense. Oh my God. That's amazing. Incense. I said incest. That's gonna get clipped. Mark, light some incense. Do whatever you need to do, preferably not incest. Get in touch with your spirit guide and then call us back on another Sunday. Sound good? I want to test your spirit.
I can do that, and I can give you a message. I can give you a message from your spirit guide. Yep.
No, I wanna interact with yours. All right. Take care, Mark.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, my brain's not in a great place, you guys. Have some patience with me, okay? Thank you. Sure, nobody's gonna hold that against me. Oh, okay.
I certainly don't. And I think you did an amazing job of answering that question, especially given the circumstances. And
I mean, I get where you're coming from. You know, if somebody says they have a voice in their head that's telling them to do things, then yeah, it's not a hard leap to go, okay, well, shouldn't we be telling people anytime you hear a voice in your head that tells you to do things, you need to get help and you shouldn't be justifying it.
Right.
I think,
if they're going to just if they're ignoring that voice that's telling them to not do the bad things, then what is the purpose of having this quote unquote good spirit guide? It's useless if we're going on what they're saying of his justification.
Well, and that's kind of why I want to test it, is I want to see they just kind of personified their moral, kind of compass. Do they feel like they have their own personal Jiminy Cricket? And if not, if they think that this is something more tangible, then I want them to call in and tell me what finger I'm holding up, or what, or have their spirit guide read my mind, or whatever the case is. Because if it's unfalsifiable, if it just has absolutely nothing to do with this real world, and it's just entirely, something that just means good to you, man, or feels good to you, it's meaningful to me, I really fucking don't care. I really don't care. Yeah. I think it's silly and I think it's unfounded, but that's
actually pretty rude as well. But yeah.
All right. Let's move on and talk to Samuel in Maine.
Yes, I'm here.
Samuel. Hey.
Yes.
You're live.
I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I'm a fan of Mandisa. I saw tons of her videos last night, so I'm a fan of her.
Oh, thank you, Samuel.
Is theist as well. Samuel's a believer. So.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm also African American, so I kind of relate to a lot of things that you say in your videos.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, it is important to understand where we are coming from as people of color and Black folks. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That no, I love that.
Yeah.
You know, people ask, you know, why intersectionality? You know, why Black non-believers? You know, I see it in the chat. This is why, because we relate to each other. We need to, you know, build those communities, and often those communities are built where we intersect and where we have multiple things in common. I don't have a lot in common with other atheists who believe in crystal healing, and, you know, but the more we, you know, find those commonalities, the more we can build and grow together. So sorry, I just interjected myself on top of a thing, but I just saw it way too much in the chat and I wanted to jump on that. Samuel, you wanted to talk about hypocrisy in church. What specifically?
Well, I would say the two main things I wanted to talk about is like really sex, and mostly as far as, you know, between men and women and the LGBT community, because oftentimes you'll hear pastors who they'll criticize, for example, people who are gay. And I don't really agree with that, because they tend to like demonize people who are gay. Oftentimes they do. Not all churches do this, but some do. And at the same time, the pastor's caught either with a boy or a girl or a woman, and people will forgive that pastor and still demonize gay people. And I have a problem with that, because I find that really as hypocrisy to me.
I don't know if you're going to hear a whole lot of pushback from us.
Right. Absolutely.
I think the only thing that I would,
because I mean,
I think the only thing that I would point out to you, Samuel, is, you know, and we kind of let it slide with Kathy, and that's because we had other parts of the conversation we were addressing. We're not always able to pick everything through, but this idea of being Christ-like it can be dangerous. And you might think, okay, Eric, that's really silly. Why? Well, because the other side of that would be, if somebody is not Christ-like or is not a believer, then they cannot have those qualities. So if you say, okay, being a good person makes you more Christian, then that means that Christianity has just being a good person locked down. Like, you couldn't be good without God. And therein,
I actually don't accept. Well, I'm sorry.
No,
I
go
don't
ahead.
accept that proposition. That I don't really accept the proposition that if you're not a Christian, you can't be a moral person. For example,
Good. Your
co-host,
Mhm.
your co-host Mandisa, for example, I don't think she's an immoral person. I mean, as far as theism is for me, it's more just from my perspective, does a God exist or not? I mean, morals to me are a different subject.
I agree. And it sounds like the reason it's a different subject for you is the same reason it's a different subject for me. And that's because you divorced morality from religiosity. And that's important. The best you can be is amoral and not affected by moral statements, you know, moral pronouncements in the Bible. I would argue that it is hard to remain amoral, and you could actually be pushed into immoral behavior if you are pointing out and using, you know, different scriptures to justify bigotry. So at the most charitable we can be, the best you can be as a Christian, because you're a Christian, is amoral, meaning no moral leaning at all. But
Right. And also, I'm sorry if I may, Eric,
no, go for it.
the church is certainly a breeding ground for hypocrisy because, for one, um, especially the Judeo-Christian religions, you know, the Catholic Church and the Christian churches have been in power for so long. And when you have institutions that govern itself ultimately by fear and guilt, that ends up being a very, very vicious and brutal cycle because, for one, it robs people of a sense of their humanity. Um, you know, we now see that, yes, the church and Christianity in particular, and I know Islam as well, is very dogmatic about sex and sexuality. And at the same time, what it does, especially for religious leaders who have been raised in these institutions and also who have been elevated to positions of power, and and stature and respectability, meaning that, you know, they're supposedly these, you know, these gatekeepers of morality. So they have to keep preaching it, even if they're wrestling with it. And this is where you see the number of, you know, of these pastors and leaders who preach about, you know, family values and morality. They get caught with mistresses, or they get caught, you know, in these what is considered, you know, what would be considered immoral positions, and also those who are, you know, preaching or who are railing against the LGBTQ community. We can see this in the late Bishop Eddie Long, who was in, you know, in Georgia here, who led a march or a protest against same-sex unions, and yet what the scandal came out that he was carrying on relations with young men in his church. So this is unfortunately a part of a vicious cycle that we see occurring in many of these institutions. And you know, of course, as you know, as more people leave because they're seeing the hypocrisy here, and the fact that most people are expected not to question that, right? You're just supposed to go along with it no matter what. If the leader gets caught, then it's like, oh well, you know, he's still a human being. But yet, if it's a regular member or parishioner, then they're demonized or they're outcast. And yes, that is an unfortunate part of, you know, the community aspect, and a harm that churches, I won't say all, but many churches and religious institutions have, you know, absolutely been responsible for. And these are things that we absolutely should continue to address.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to ask, or is that just kind of what you wanted to?
Well, I guess I was just going to wrap this up by basically saying that, you know, as far as like, say, you know, hypocrisy goes, because see, for example, I've also listened to the Atheist Experience show, and I've heard Matt Dillahunty talk about slavery in different areas and things like that. And for the most part, I would say that he's correct on a lot of things that he says. I think part of the issue, I think, with oftentimes, you know, other Christians, even my parents, is that, you know, they don't accept any, like, say, legit criticism, like when it comes to the Bible. Like, from my perspective, as far as God is concerned, even if a God exists and he's good, I don't think that necessarily that he's incapable of making zero mistakes at all. You know, but for a lot of Christians, you know, they don't want to even accept the possibility that, you know, maybe the God of the Bible, even if he's real, he could have possibly made mistakes, or maybe he's not 100% perfect above everybody else.
So there's actually an entire subset of people who leave fundamentalist Christian religions and move to kind of more spacey, you know, more ambiguous religious kind of leanings that can include that. I know it may sound mean, but try to avoid that branch on your way down. Because I've seen plenty of people hit that branch on the way down. And how about this? If you do, give us a call. That said, Samuel?
Honestly, I don't think I would go down it. Like, honestly, if I was going to leave theism, I probably would just become an atheist. Like, I don't think I would try to jump to another branch, because, I mean, in my opinion, you know, if, like, say, I don't accept, for example, theism, I would just become an atheist, because, you know, as Matt Dillahunty explained, it's just a lack of belief. Really. So until a God is concretely proven to me, I probably would just end up becoming an atheist. No middle ground, really, for me.
Well, so long as you're using good reasoning, that's the most important thing. If you are practicing skepticism, if you are engaging with the world around you in an honest, open way that is able to go, hey, I might be wrong about X, Y, and Z, but I want to follow the evidence where it leads us, that's where we want you to go. And I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for watching these shows.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Samuel, if I may add something, being an atheist doesn't mean that we have come to definite conclusions on anything. There are plenty of times where we say we don't know, We continuously look for answers. It is an ongoing process. We don't just stop with with our lack of belief in God. So I think that for many believers or people who may be doubting and questioning, I think that might be the thing that stops them, is that, well, that's just it. And it isn't. It's a new beginning. It's a way for you to start exploring more about what you may have been discouraged from learning about previously and exploring before. It can take you down just this wonderful avenue of information, which at times can be overwhelming, but it's a start. It's a good start for you, improving on your skepticism and your education and your information and learning, and also dialogue,
Yeah.
because that's important as well.
And take I each of those, as you're listing them, Mandisa, I'm thinking each of those as a baby step.
Mhm.
And I just want to
Yes.
use those as baby steps. Samuel, you don't need to jump directly out, because you want to have good foundation under you for the reasons that you're accepting things around you. And yeah, those are perfect baby steps. But that said, Samuel, thank you for calling in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, those I can't tell you how many people have messaged and been like, I was a hardcore Christian and I saw 2 episodes of Talk Heathen and now I'm an atheist. And it's like,
Like,
oh no.
are you sure? I mean, it's great. I mean, right, right. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but because then they message 2 weeks after that and say, never mind, I'm a Christian again. It's like, okay, we need to have good reasons for what we believe. I'm not telling you what to believe.
Absolutely.
I'm not telling you what to think.
I am not in favor of atheism becoming trendy, because it is not something that is going to be popular, or it isn't the thing to do for the moment. Like you said, there needs to be a good foundation for why you don't believe. And if those people become, or if they choose to openly identify as atheists, or they're comfortable within 2 episodes based on the skepticism they already had, then great. But if it is an emotional, oh, I'm atheist
I'm
because,
angry at
I
God.
have an issue with religion. Yes, I'm angry at God, or I'm angry at my pastor and such. Many of us who are community leaders would actually, try to encourage, like, are you really sure? We recommend resources for to actually come to terms with that, because that's what they may need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad we're on the same page about that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm with you. So before we move into the next call, I want to thank our patrons. It's funny, I was actually loading up the patrons, and I got the message from our producers saying, hey, now's a good time for Patreon. We are synced. We are feeling good. It is that time of the episode where we thank our top 5 patrons. Our top 5 patrons this week are Eric Tweet, CJ Dennis, Dingleberry Jackson, Desert Heathen, and Bethany P. And we have 2 more. We usually just read our top 5, but Mandy's our 6th patron. Their name is Marry Me V, which I think is hilarious. So special shout out to Marry Me V. And then next is
Aww.
Balaam's Donkey. So
Oh my gosh.
thank you, not just to our top patrons, but to all of our patrons. It sincerely helps. What we're doing costs money, and we want to use that to the best of our ability to push this mission forward. So if you like what we do and you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. That is not the only way you can support us. We're at 81,000 subscribers. Let's get to 100,000. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and share this out, because the more people see it, the more we can grow. And we want to get in front of more eyeballs. So share this out as well, please. That said, you ready to move on to the next caller?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk to Jesse in New Jersey. Jesse.
Hey.
Erica Mandisa. Hey, what did you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about
Hey,
the
Jesse,
way Orthodox. Yeah.
there's something going on with the line.
Okay.
I'm going to pop you back on hold and see if you can talk to one of our call screeners, and maybe we can work out what's going on. But there's a sound coming through that's really difficult. So I'm going to pop you back on hold to the queue, and we'll see if we can work that through with our call screener. Okay.
Okay.
Did you hear that too, Mandisa?
I did.
Yeah, okay,
And
okay.
I know that we are all dealing with internet issues and connections and such, but yeah, that was very, very obvious.
Yeah, my ADD would not have been able to handle that. All right, let's talk to Shiva in Virginia. Shiva, you're live with Eric and Mandisa.
How are you? I am actually a very good fan of both of y'all.
Hey!
Thank you.
I listen in every single time, try and gather enough knowledge to kind of present. And I'm having difficulty trying to explain to my wife, who is 100% believer. I am not.
That is a
Right
tough position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you want to talk about specifically on this call?
By the time I was like 9 years old, the fantasy wore off. Pray and thou shalt receive. It didn't work. I prayed and I prayed, nothing happened. Okay, I grew up from
Shiva?
that part of it.
Hey, Shiva?
Yeah.
Did you want to tell us about your deconversion on this call? Or it says in the notes you wanted to talk to us about talking to your wife. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm already convinced of what cannot be proven. I cannot prove this to the wife. She is 100% convinced.
I totally understood. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, number one thing, Shiva, I cannot guarantee you that your wife is ever going to be open to it.
Agreed.
I know. There are people who call and say, how do I get my family to understand X? We do this show because
it's the wife.
So, Shiva,
it's the brother, it's the father, it's the mother, it's everybody. I mean,
go ahead, Mandisa.
Shiva, if we could background on your relationship, how long have you been married, and was that something that your wife knew about you when you got married? What was the deal with that? If you can give us some background.
absolutely. I'm Indian. I'm a Hindu faith back in the day. And we believe everything's ordained. And the wife never saw me. It was an arranged marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Her recommendation came from a person. Her recommendation for this marriage came from a person that saw me when I was 3 years old and said, hey, I know this family. You're good to go. And she married us. I mean, me.
Oof.
Mm.
So, did you want to respond, Mandisa?
I saw her, and then 20 days later, I was married. There was no in between here or there. I waited for her for about a year. She showed up in the U.S. And ever since then, we've been together. We got a lot of hurdles. God is not one of them for me.
So Shiva, I have a couple of suggestions, and they are broad, but hopefully they can help you look at this in a different context. So the first is modeling behavior. I suggest, if you're not already doing this, because you may already be doing this, every time you're talking about things and you may not know the answer, be very clear. Say, hey, I don't know this. Let's find out together. Let's investigate this. Find places where you can have common ground and share how skepticism works, and not because it's necessarily skepticism, but because it is the best tool. And as you kind of explore things together, things that may not be as hot to touch as religion, helping model the tools can be in the long term a really, really beneficial thing. Including, oh my goodness, including I don't know. Anytime you get the chance to say I don't know, celebrate it. And celebrate it with them. I don't know is the chance for discovery. It's your opportunity to go, holy crap, I don't know a thing. Now I can point in the direction and learn. And
Wow.
I think, yeah. Go ahead, Mandisa.
And we have been hit with some very interesting and serious, like, cultural dynamics and other institutional dynamics today, because arranged marriages, I can only imagine how hard how tough both of you, the position both of you are in, because you don't know each other. Were y'all recently married? How long have y'all been married?
1997.
Oh, so a very, very long time. So, wow, that is a very long time to only have met each other in a short amount of time, to be in an arranged marriage. And really, that's 23 years of not really knowing each other, even in a relationship. Because in most marriages, you build on what you have in common and what you love about each other. But unfortunately, with arranged marriages, and I'm just speaking from an outside perspective here, that there's a lot that you kind of have to just go along with out of tradition and culture, and out of family expectations, which is very, very hard. That is emotionally draining, and it can just take a toll on the entire family. And people don't realize how much it manifests itself. And clearly it's at a manifestation point. So, and it actually sounds like you're very frustrated, and which I can certainly understand as well. That is very common and understandable. So, hopefully there has been a point in your marriage that y'all have been able to find some common ground outside of your lack of belief and her strong belief. Hopefully it hasn't just revolved around children, because in marriages, and I say this being married and having been in a relationship now for 25 years, when the focus is mainly the children, that leaves both the couple, the parents, the couple, and your individual selves in limbo. So now, like I said, I definitely sense that frustration there. I'm sure Eric does as well. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on any of that. And now it's
You're not wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, trust me, we're human beings. We know what these things are. We know
So-
what they are.
So
Woo!
I kind of want
Both of us,
to.
we married, we make compromises. My compromise is I do everything I need to do so you're happy, my kids are happy, they're taken care of, things of that sort. But this one part of belief is like poking me. I don't know how to
Right.
explain it.
Yeah.
Right.
Prove it. I mean, you say you could talk to God. Okay, God, fine. Show me. Then she brings out all kinds of, I never know you, I didn't see you, I married you anyway. And it goes all over the place. You have no idea how the
Uh-huh.
conversation.
That sounds like
And
guilt
she kills
tripping.
it. She is super smart.
Uh-huh.
She kills it in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah,
And
that's emotional blackmail. At that point, I suggest the best way to move forward is with therapy. Getting into couples therapy and having mediated communication where that outside influence can help make sure that that gets checked is going to help, because until those behaviors are checked, it's going to be very, very difficult to move forward with anything. I highly suggest finding a couples therapist, marriage counselor,
the issue
someone
I
who's
have with is
licensed.
the people that I have, the counseling position are theists. They don't support my view. They support hers. It doesn't matter who the religion you believe in. As long as you're a believer, you're good. If you're not, you're screwed.
I suggest the Secular Therapy Project. If you go to www.seculartherapy.org, you can help. It helps. It says that you are in Virginia, correct?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, being in the States, there are a lot more resources that we have handy. Go to seculartherapy.org. There's a good chance that you can find a therapist who may be able to help through there. That is definitely where I would start. Second is also calling Recovering from Religion. That hotline project, they have so many resources. It is insane. And they may be able to help as well.
Right. It is going to be important to your peace of mind and to your state of mind to get that support for yourself at this point, even before you can work to, hopefully you can gradually move to that being a couples thing. But for right now, it sounds like you need that support more than anyone else. And that's going to be important before you can even consider bringing your wife into this.
Absolutely. Shiva, we want to make sure we have...
My brother turned into Islam a long time ago, and even to date, he will quote passages from Quran. If you just read and understand this, you will turn Muslim. What the hell are you talking about?
If you can get them to call in, I would love that. Next time you have that conversation, say, ooh, I really want to see you have a conversation with Talk Heathen. Have them call in and
I tried that.
Yeah.
I did get on the board, except the time was over. I mean,
okay. So here's the deal. We will give them preference next time. Next time they call in, tell them, hey, calling and just let the call screener know that, we're going to be giving them preference, and we will, make sure that it's related back to this call and go from there.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks for that.
I appreciate you. Mandisa, anything else before we move on?
I just want to say that I'm wishing you the best of luck on this. Thank you for calling in and expressing and sharing with us, because this is important. Validation, especially when you are surrounded by religious people, is absolutely important. And we want you to know that we understand, and we definitely, I recommend finding secular spaces in your area. Try, if you can, if you don't belong to a local group or one nearby, if you're in Virginia, I think there are plenty of meetup groups there. Black Nonbelievers does have an affiliate there. You'll be more than welcome to join that as well. So please do seek out for yourself support, organizations and mechanisms.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mandy's a good call on the self-care. You're right. We got to have self-compassion, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves before we can interact with the world. You nailed that. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, Erica, that is absolutely important.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I had to learn that the hard way. I burned out pretty hard not too terribly long ago because I let that slide. So making sure that we do that is so important. I really want to get to interact with people in the Discord. It's really fun. We do a Q&A, and we're going to be moving to that from here. Especially because the nonprofits is going to be coming up at 3. So I want to have time to engage in that Q&A. So let's go through our things here. And then in the meantime, if you want to join us on the Discord, can we pop up the link to the Discord in the lower third? Because there it is. Join us on Discord, tiny.cc/ACA Discord. That way people have the time to set it up while we're doing this. Mandisa, I know that you plug events, and I'm going to ask you to plug those events again. But what I want to point out is, y'all, Mandisa is doing this full time. Mandisa is working hard and is really, really influential in the movement. And they have a Patreon, and now they can marry people. If you want to support Mandisa and what they do, Mandisa, what is your personal Patreon? I'm sorry if that's uncomfortable, but I do want to support you and what you're doing as well.
Absolutely. So, and I appreciate that, Eric. It means a lot. My Patreon is patreon.com /Mandisa Latifa. You actually have to type that in because the content is 18 plus. So I tend to blog about, I share upcoming events, upcoming plans, as well as things that go on in not just my personal life, but also in my activism life. I do tend to give tips on community building and organizing, what will be helpful, what to avoid. And so also some things that I don't necessarily share with the general public that I like to share with my supporters, which I absolutely do appreciate. You get early access to information as well. And like Eric just said, and like we said before, I am now a humanist celebrant. So that would be a great way to contact me if you are interested in booking me to officiate your wedding or preside over a funeral or another service. I am very, very excited about this other area of my activism. It is extremely important to me, and I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of my colleagues and allies in this movement. It means so much. And of course, I encourage everyone to support Black non-believers as well.
Absolutely. And I'm going to keep pushing Black non-believers. We have a promo, actually. If we have that promo handy, could we show the promo? There it is. There it is. blacknonbelievers.org. You can go on Instagram to Be Nonbelievers Inc., on YouTube, Black Nonbelievers Inc., and on Twitter at Be Nonbelievers. Mandisa, one more time, what are the next two events coming up for Black Nonbelievers? September and November?
Yes. So September and November, we have the Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference from September 24th through the 26th. Once again, you can register to stream online. And we also have BNCCon 2021, which will be sailing out of Miami, Florida from November 7th through the 13th. Please, if you would like to join us for that, if you can, there is more information on both events on Black Nonbelievers and our website.
One of these days I'm going to be able to afford to go. I've been wanting to go on one of those cruises for so long. I'm one of these days. But the fact that you're still doing it is just, it feels so good.
Absolutely. The best thing about cruises, though, is that you can pay them in deposits. You don't have to pay the entire amount up front. So you can budget it if you can. And we have also, over the years, have had generous donors who have supported the event and have allowed for subsidization of some fares. So if you are interested in sponsoring a fare, or costs, if you are interested in contributing towards that, because, or if anyone is, you can certainly do so. We're more than happy to, because it is educational, it is activism, it is certainly it is a component to building community for those who didn't think that cruises do that. And they do. And we do it in a fun way. It's such a way to build and learn more about us and each other.
Okay, fine. I don't have any excuses. Mandisa, thank you. Let's move on.
Thank you, Eric.
I want to see our crew. Can we move to the crew cam? Our crew, we love you guys. I'm so glad that you're safe.
Yes. Y'all are so amazing.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna probably after we do our Discord, I'm just gonna go have a panic attack. But in the meantime, we love you, crew. Thank you. We could not do this without you. Mandisa, you ready for love rings? Do you remember this part?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
What is that?
3, 2, 1. I'm never gonna get tired of that. People bitch about the love rings in the intro, and I love it so much. All right. So I don't know if you've been on since COVID, but we've added something to our ending bit because whether you believe or not, if you're an essential worker, gosh, it's been a long time. We're so grateful to you. You are doing your job, and we are going to do ours by limiting our exposure and staying safe and getting vaccinated. I actually turned to the person who gave me my first vaccine shot, and I was just like, you're a hero, right? And they're like, I don't. I was like, no, like legit, you are my hero. Those of you, whether you believe it or not, the fact that you're, the fact that you're contributing is so
Yes.
appreciated.
And
If
coming from a hospitality, I'm sorry, Eric.
no, please go ahead.
I'm interrupting you.
No.
No, I was about to say, coming from a hospitality background, those who are on the ground, those who are working in groceries, in the grocery business, who are in hospitality, those who don't have a choice but to be, there in person. I salute all of you. I always thank those who are doing those thankless jobs that people don't appreciate. Along with the first responders and the medical professionals, those who absolutely have to serve the general public. You have my love and support as well, and please stay safe.
Right. For those of you who are non-believers, we're so glad that you found us. And even those believers, we had several religious callers who called in who said, hey, we're fans. And the fact that we're having those conversations is so important. And I love it. If you're a non-believer, this is your community and we're glad you're here. Please stay safe, especially if you're in the Austin area right now. And thank you. Thank you for being here. I did have a quick thing. Somebody asked in the chat, has Eric done debates? Yes, I have. But stopped obviously because of COVID. But Mandisa, I actually found out I'm going to be doing a debate in February of next year. And I'm very excited. I'll give more details on that the more we work it out, but I'm like super stoked. Until then, we will actually do our outro. It's we say, for those of you who do believe, we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. You want to join me on it?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. For those of you who do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong.
You're wrong.
See you next week.